This episode is brought to you by A3, a CMMC cloud-based collaborative environment for an organization seeking certification, otherwise known as an OSC, to build CMMC packages and share with a marketplace of consultant RPOs and assessor C3PAOs. Hey, everybody, and thank you very much for coming back to another episode of 123 CMMC. My name is Dana Mantilia, and I am your host. And my very special guest today is Sandip Dholakia. And he is, his cybersecurity professional. So, Sandip, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, Dana. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on the show today. And I'm happy to be here. And I have been in IT all my life, or like in the technology area all my life. And since the undergrad, where I did my engineering, and then I was employed by GM, and over there I did started with software development, and then eventually I worked in IT and infosec area for a long time, and then I also worked in the infosec group for Cisco systems, and now uh, uh, I'm with the uh, I'm with the global security group within SAP as a principal security architect.
All right. Good stuff. So lots of experience you have. So today we're going to talk about audit logs. This is a good topic. We haven't touched on this one yet. So I'm looking forward to some of your answers. So here's our first question. What is a log and what are the different types of logs?
Okay, so log in its basic form, right, in a simplest form, the log is basically a history of event or like time-stamped history of events. So anything that we can track back with timestamp on it, it's basically a log, right? So in like 80s, right, when we used to check into the hotel, we write down our name, phone number, address, right, and a book. That book is essentially a log for them, right? Like when you think about, right, an event, right? Hey, I mean, if you think like 2 days from now that, yeah, Sandeep was very mean to me, blah, blah, all that, right? So that is essentially you are going through the log because you actually went through an event in the history with a timestamp that 2 days ago, Sandeep was mean to me. So that basically essentially a mental log. So everything we do is essentially a log. So log is not new to us, but in IT, right, log is defined as a timestamped history of event uh, within an application or the infrastructure or the system. So that is essentially a log. Now logs are mainly divided into two main types, I should say. One is the application log, and the other is the infrastructure log. So application logs, as the name indicates, like any events or changes happens to application, and we actually store them or record them with a timestamp. So it becomes an application log. On the other hand, anything to happen or any updates or changes or events to happen in your infrastructure, like routers, switches, VMs, hardware, those are infrastructure logs. So there are main two types of logs, application log and the infrastructure logs.
Okay. And then what is an audit log?
Yeah, so that is another big animal. So infrastructure log and application log both could have an audit log. Now, log essentially tell us or answer us uh, uh, the event and the timestamp. So what and when, what happened and when, that is your log. Now, when you add who to that, like who did what and when, that becomes an audit log. So audit log essentially tracks down the who did part, right? Who part, and that's an audit log. And it is why it's also called audit trail, because you can go back and trail, right? So in a hotel example earlier, like I said, right, in 80s, so if the individual at the check-in desk, right, if he just note down that one guy came at 1 p.m., that is log. But he notes down that Sandeep checked in at 1 p.m., then it becomes audit log, because an inspector can go and look for me that, hey, did this guy stay here? Show me your book. and that's an audit trail because I was there with my name in there. So it is how the audit log works. Now in IT, if we have to take this example in IT now, so like when anyone logs in or any events or uh, changes or updates happens to your application or, or your OS or anywhere, right? It is being tracked down, and at that time, not only what you did, when you did, as well as who did it, like your ID. And in sometimes they actually change your ID with some digits, like random digits, so people don't get hold of your ID if they get hold of the logs. But essentially, admin can tell those digits are belongs to Dana or Sandeep or John, right? I mean, on the street, so they would know. So this is what the audit log is. Basically, it tracks back to you and what you did and when.
And it's a good way to make sure that people are in the right software applications that they should be. And you could make sure that someone doesn't gain access to something, or if something looks suspicious, I would guess. Let's say, for example, the office manager is typically working between 9 to 5, and at 2 a.m., somebody is logged in with her credentials. That may look a little like, wait a minute, who is this person? So maybe somebody stole her credentials or something. So,
Right.
Okay. All right, so now we know what they can do for us. So how do they improve security?
As you said, right, number one thing, like it would track down that who did what. So if like I'm an employee uh, who is designated to work 9 to 5, and if I do something at 2 a.m., obviously it rings bell, and it will call for an investigation that, hey, like what's going on here. The other thing is like it also tracks down the attempts, right? Like how many times someone tried to log in, and like failed attempt, especially the failed attempt. So if say for example an individual try to log in to your application, so and like if you have like 5 or 6 or 8 login attempts which are failed, then we know that he was not a really authorized individual to work on this application, and he was trying to break in. So
Yeah. Yes.
it basically sends us an alert. Also, it does help in some other way, in a way like, okay, if something goes wrong, right, if like file is stolen or something, or like data is stolen or IP is leaked, right, then we can track back to our employees or people who actually touched it last, that okay, who actually copied this file Sunday at 6 p.m. And why, right? So we know. It would help us in investigation if anything like that should happen, like IP is stolen or data is leaked or anything like internal leak, inside leakage. So we can track back with the audit log. Also, in the flip side, if like someone to accuse us, right, that hey, you stole our data or you leaked this insider information, then we can say no, our firm did not do it. Here is the track record. No one logged into your data between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. Like you said, it's not us. Like especially in the cloud, right? There are like so many people stores the data. So like AWS or GCP or anybody, they have to have this log that okay, your data was not touched by any of our employees or anybody else who used our cloud. So they can prove that, right? So it can go both ways. It can defend. It can be used to defend yourself as well as to prove that who was guilty. So,
and this is when it comes to CMMC, this is something that people are going to need to deal with. These contractors are going to need to have a conversation with their IT department to say, we need to show some kind of audit logs and start having that conversation and making sure that the IT can provide that for them and that someone is reviewing it, because there's probably logs that are automatically being generated, but it's like anything. If someone's not reviewing them, then that's not doing any good. So, and that comes to the next one. How do you effectively analyze an audit log?
right. So I use like uh, basically most difficult part, right, of the logging to analyze and what to look for, right? Because every application or every information that we have is being logged. Every event is being tracked and logged, and there is like tons of data. And if we don't know effectively how to use this data, then your team as well
Mm-hmm.
as your database will be overloaded, and we don't want to do this, right? So there are tools like we call it seems like SIEM, the System Information and Event Management Tool, SIEM. So those tools are used to analyze the logs, and so basically we can aggregate all the logs to this tool, number one. So from all the infrastructure and applications, the log can come to one place, and the tool would analyze it, and we can set the data like the default line that, okay, if we have like five failed login attempt, then send me a text.
Mm-hmm.
So the admin or the
Well,
operations
that's
team
handy.
will
That's
get a
definitely
text
handy.
that, hey, like your application X has like six failed login attempt, please check that log. So then the admin can go, or the operations team go and log in and see what happened to that application. Oh, somebody from China is trying to log in, why?
Right.
Or
Yeah.
like, as an example, right? Things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So if so things like that. Those tools can actually help us, and uh, more alerts and more default values we call it like baseline. So
Mm-hmm.
once we establish the baseline, right, of the behavior, then
Mm-hmm.
we know what is out of the baseline, and we have to pay attention to. So
So
it
that
makes
probably
our
ties
life
into the
easy.
next one is what do you have to watch out for? Because you have to create the baseline first, right? There has to be a little bit of historical data going on there.
Right. We have to create the baseline, and we have to have the historical data, and also uh, we have to have the documented facts about what we want to log, right? Because if we log anything and everything, then it will be like, like too much data, and over data always kills it. So we want to make it a reasonable amount, and the data which we really need to know, right, to analyze.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one, right? We have to figure out what we want to log. Number two, how we are going to log it, and like how long we are going to keep it, because if we keep the data forever and ever, it's going to back up, and eventually it will cost money, because in
Mm-hmm.
the cloud especially, every time you store the data or every time you access the data, it will cost us money.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to watch out, right, how much data we store, and how long we keep the data.
How long
Now
should you keep these
there
for?
hmm?
How long do you think you should keep these for on average? Keep some of these logs.
Yeah, so it depends, right? I mean, some of the like PCI DSS or HIPAA data, uh, there is a regulated requirement that we have to keep for X number of years. Average data at least a year, and sometime if its information is too important, it might go up to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But on an average a year, at the least, I should say, we
Mm-hmm.
have to keep the data. And the important part is, right, this data, the log data, as well as the audit trails, right, or the audit data may have some PII sometimes, like
Mm-hmm.
people's card number, like from PCI DSS, right, card number or last four of the social,
Mm-hmm.
and the information like this, right. So those data we have to encrypt, right. So we have to use the encryption to save the log.
Mm-hmm.
So even if its logs are stolen, people can't read my
Right.
name, my ID, and
Right.
my last four of my social.
Yeah, that sounds
So
very
all
important.
these basically add, right, to the cost. To like anytime we try to maintain an IT infrastructure, all this basically adds up to our cost value. So we want to make sure that we log what we absolutely have to, and we store as long as we need to, and not any longer, because all
Mm-hmm.
the storage cost, encryption cost, maintenance cost, everything adds up.
Well, that makes it a little easier too, because if you're only saying we are only going to be logging stuff that we absolutely positively have, and then you put some, this is going to be for a year, this has to be for 3 years, it makes the process a little more simple too than trying to log everything, overcomplicating the system, and then, like you said, the excess costs for the storage and the encryption and all that kind of stuff. So keep it simple, right?
Keep it simple, right?
Hmm. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else that you would like to add here, or anything you want to say about yourself?
No, I mean, I would like to add one thing about the logging, right? Because people log, like many firms I know that they actually keep the data, but they don't really analyze effectively, and that doesn't help. So if you log, it's good, but the next step is you have to analyze. You have to make sure you have appropriate alerts set. Otherwise, logging will not help, because logging itself doesn't help. It's like information we extract from the log. It's what are really important, right? And so don't stop at just uh, having logs to database. Make sure you analyze, you properly uh, use the information.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you very, very much for your time and all of your knowledge. This was very, very helpful, and a topic, like I have said, we haven't touched on yet. So thank you very much. And everybody, thank you for watching. We appreciate your time and hope to see you on the next episode.
Thank you, Dana.
Bye.
Enjoyed being here. Bye.
This episode of 123 CMMC has been brought to you by A3, an assessment accreditation application developed by CyberDI. A3 is a CMMC cloud-based collaborative environment for an organization seeking certification, OSC, to build CMMC packages and share with a marketplace of consultant, RPOs, and assessor C3PAOs.